Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So recently I was looking through my list of movies I still need to watch and I came across Veronica, a Spanish possession movie inspired by a true story. And you guys may know that this movie had some very unique marketing, claiming it's the scariest movie ever made. There are a ton of articles claiming that everyone was turning it off halfway through because of how creepy it is. But how true are those statements and how scary is the movie really? Well, I decided to watch it to find out. So the other night, I waited until it was about 11 PM, I turned off all the lights and watched it. And I did get a little scared before the movie even started. 45 minutes away from midnight, completely... What the f just happened? Oh my god, my computer screen just... I'm already getting scared. Now while we will take a closer look at the movie, I'll avoid talking about the ending or any of the big reveals in case you still want to watch it afterwards. Here we follow 15-year-old Veronica. Ever since her father died, she's taking care of her 3 younger siblings while her mother is always working. She goes to Catholic school where one day we learn about a mysterious solar eclipse that will happen in a few hours. The teacher explains how a long time ago people believed they could summon dark spirits during these events. All the students and teachers then go outside to see it. But Veronica and 2 of her friends go into this dark basement to play with the Ouija board. They try to reach Veronica's deceased father, but as the eclipse begins, things quickly escalate. Oh man. This seems familiar. Something starts talking to them and it becomes clear that this is no longer just a game. As the sun gets completely covered by the moon, the glass they used in the game explodes and she bleeds on the board. This moment is quite surprising because from the marketing you expect something new and innovative, yet the film has many of the typical things you'd expect in a horror movie: Ouija boards, little kids that are always appearing out of nowhere, and the creepy nun. But the film uses these things better than most others. Like the nun, she doesn't just show up to scare you, but she becomes pretty important later on. However, the scene with the Ouija board did feel pretty routine. It's nothing you've never seen before. And that's the case with a lot of what you'll see. So after the seance, it becomes clear that something evil has attached itself to Veronica. It starts small with things moving around the house. Okay. Mom, it's time to move out. And these parts are extremely effective. They're really creepy and have a great build-up, which makes you feel like anything can happen. And unlike most horror movies, it didn't spoil any of these scenes in the trailers. From there on, it gets increasingly more intense. Veronica's friends begin avoiding her, she starts hearing voices of people that aren't really there, and she gets really isolated. This is something that's very well done, because usually the first audience reaction is, well, why don't you call the police, or why don't you run away? But I never thought about that in this movie. It feels like there is no easy way out. Veronica becomes completely trapped in this situation. She can't call the police because there is nothing to show them, and she can't run because, well, first of all, the demon is attached to her, but she needs to take care of her siblings too. Now the parts where we don't see the demon are among the best ones, but eventually we do get to see what is after her. Oh, f this, man. What's notable here is how quiet a lot of these scenes are. It's the complete opposite to something like Slender Man, where everything is so dark that you can't see shit, and you rely on the jump scare sound effect to know if anything's happening. Here the creepiness doesn't come from the jump scares in it. Don't get me wrong, the movie has a few of them. I honestly don't know what to say. But it doesn't lean on any of that to be scary. In fact, some of the scariest scenes in the movie have little to no sound effects. It'll just show you a dark hallway and gets you to figure out if something's there. What the f... Okay, yeah. Dude, is that guy naked? After Veronica notices that something is seriously wrong, she decides to go back into the school's basement where they first played with the Ouija board, but she gets confronted by the blind nun. She tells Veronica that she blinded herself at a young age to stop seeing spirits, but she can still sense them, and she feels something near her right now. That night she's back home and watches over the kids while her mother is working late in the bar, but in the middle of the night she hears something coming from the hallway. There she sees this dark figure walking towards the kids. And this was probably one of the most unique moments in the movie, because the scene doesn't have the typical background music that you'd expect, but instead we hear the soundtrack of what is currently running on the TV. It fits very well and is one of those moments where the movie shows that it's more than just another possession flick. It takes creative risks and makes interesting choices like this that you don't see very often. Unfortunately, the same can't really be said about what happens the next day, because Veronica goes back to the nun and asks for her advice. The nun tells her that something evil has been following her because they didn't complete the board's ritual. They started it but forgot to say goodbye in the end. Not saying goodbye invited something in, and it's still here. But by doing right what she did wrong, Veronica can still get rid of the demon. She tries to get her two friends to play with the Ouija board again to end it properly this time. They're both at a nearby party, but when asked if they want to do another seance, they don't want to. What happened in the basement was already too much, and the last thing they want to do is do it again. As she leaves the party, one of her friends, Rosa, reveals that she knows something's wrong with Veronica and is afraid that she'll die soon. But Rosa doesn't want to risk her own life by helping her. And the party scene to me makes the movie a lot scarier because it highlights how truly alone Veronica is. Her father's gone, her mother's working until late at night, and even though Veronica herself is still very much a child, she needs to take care of these three other kids who look to her for advice. Even before all the Ouija boards, Veronica already had a tremendous amount of responsibility and didn't get any help. So she tried to contact her father to feel maybe a little bit better, and what happens? A demon comes after her and wants to destroy her life. Meanwhile, her immature friends, whose main concern is parties and boys, don't show any interest in helping her, even though they know she needs it. And when Veronica does her absolute best to protect her siblings from a powerful evil spirit, her mother thinks she's crazy and tells her to grow up and start acting like an adult, even though that's all she's been doing. She needs to deal with all of this while only being 15 years old, and no one seems to care. It's kinda tragic, but I always appreciate it when a horror movie puts that much effort into a character. So since her friends won't help her, she needs to stay at the apartment and defend her home by drawing religious symbols on the wall to ward off evil spirits. But that doesn't really work and the demon returns. As it approaches them, she calls the police, but it will take them some time to arrive. And I gotta say, the last 15 minutes of the movie were pretty intense.
Oh my god, you better hurry up, he's like...
Even if you don't find it scary, it still does an excellent job of drawing you into the story. I actually forgot I was recording a video and just sat there in this stiff position. So as things start going crazy in their apartment, Veronica needs to fight back against the demon as it tries to attack both her and the siblings.
Okay.
Shortly after, the police arrive and they see some paranormal activity. Again, I don't want to spoil it for the people who haven't seen it. Now, I thought the demon in this movie wasn't that scary. It's this black blob thing. When we only saw a shadow or a reflection of it, that was probably scarier than seeing the whole thing. And that's the case for a lot of movies. Certainly not all, but this one happens to be one of them. So I'd say the movie wasn't anywhere near as scary as I thought it would be. Yes, there are some scary moments, but most of that was because in the back of my mind was the statement, "This is the scariest movie ever." So I felt like any second there's just going to be this crazy scene where I'm going to be completely shocked, but that never really came. That's what's unique about movies like Sinister, It Follows, or Insidious. When you watch those movies and you're laying in bed at night, it feels like something is lurking in a dark corner, watching you. And while Veronica was very entertaining and definitely above average, I never really got that feeling here. As for the marketing claims, I couldn't find any evidence supporting the claims that it was so scary. All the articles I read just cite a few tweets from people who watched it, but these are completely subjective. This leads me to believe that all the talk about how scary it is was just fabricated by the marketing team. And don't get me wrong, I'm sure some people find it scary, but the amount of articles about how creepy it is feels exaggerated. And it does more bad for the movie than good. It did generate a ton of attention, but it also got many bad reviews because a lot of people were disappointed, even though it's a good movie. Overall, I thought the scariest scene was about 39 minutes in, which is one of the first times we see what is coming after her. Veronica wakes up in the middle of the night and finds her siblings near a closet, and that night she gets directly approached by the demon for the first time. I'd say if you found movies like The Ritual scary, you're probably going to think this one's scary too. The same goes for Gerald's Game and Oculus. Those are movies that I think have a similar level of fear, so you can watch it without being too afraid. I do highly recommend it because it has a much stronger story than most horror movies, and it might seem like I gave away too much in this video, but trust me, I left out a lot of things, especially when it comes to Veronica's whole personal journey throughout the movie. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked this new type of video as it was really fun for me to make. See you guys in the next one. Bye guys.